Mortal Kombat 1 didn't fail because it was a bad game. It failed because it forgot what made Mortal Kombat special in the first place. And if NetherRealm doesn't fix these exact problems, Mortal Kombat 13 or Mortal Kombat 2, whatever you want to call it, might actually be the first MK game that people just stop caring about. But the crazy part is, fixing it isn't even that hard. So in this video, I'm breaking down exactly what Mortal Kombat 13 needs to do to save the franchise and bring it back to its peak. And if you guys don't know me by now, I'm MrFrostyFlamez, but you can call me Mike. I do gaming reviews, news, playthroughs, etc. And I just would appreciate it if you drop a sub and join the FrostyFlamez Legion. Now back to the video. So at quick glance, why did many people think that MK1 failed? Why was it a disappointment? Now I made many videos talking about it. If you want to see more in depth, go check out those videos, but I've been talking about it a lot recently, so I just want to go over it really quickly. So first of all, the cameo system divided players. It was a hit or miss for some it made the game better, some it kind of killed it for them. And another very crucial part of MK1 was the lack of content at launch. Compared to MK11, MKX, MK9, even the 3D era MK games, MK1 launched with basically nothing. You know, it's like a, how do you say it? It's a whole ocean, but it is deep as a puddle. Because you have all these gimmicks, you know, it's making it look like it's a big game. The presentation is phenomenal. You know, when you boot up that main menu screen, you hear that ambiance of Liu Kang's new timeline and like the flutes and like all the animals and everything and the updated graphics, man, it looks awesome. But the thing is, when you actually dive into the content, it's very shallow. All you have is very mediocre, very boring invasions mode, very repetitive, right? And then you have a story that, let me tell you this, the story did good in the beginning, but after it faltered hard. It went into the multiverse stuff and it just failed. But other than that, what do you have? You have invasions and you have story mode. So that's for single player content because they took out the crypt for invasions mode, which is a huge, big no-no. So if you're not a competitive player and you don't play online, what are you gonna do? Because all you have is online, story mode, and invasions, and all of which are basically horrible. You know, you play the campaign once and then you're done. You play the invasions mode once and then you're bored, and then you can only play the online so much, you know, before you know you want more content, before you need something to do, a grind or anything. But the game just doesn't have it. And on top of that, it has very weak customization. Take a look at the previous entries that NetherRealm put out, MK11 and Injustice 2. Injustice 2 had phenomenal customization. You could basically upgrade every part of your character's wardrobe. You could customize like the mask, the chest plate, the leggings, the shoulder pads, everything, you know. It depends on the character. You know, in MK11, they toned it down a bit. You have 3 pieces of gear you could customize. But the thing is, it had a lot of skins. You know, you had tons and tons of skins. You had the Towers of Time where you could unlock unique skins in the game. Obviously, MK1 has that, but most of the skins feel like color swaps. And that's another big no-no because a lot of big skins are just either you gotta buy from the live service element that was like basically forced upon us with this item shop, right? Or you had to unlock them through the very grindy, very tedious invasions mode, in which like you have to pray that, you know, your character has a specific invasion season tailored to them, or else you're just gonna get like a crappy color swap skin, and it's just not good. And then last but not least, you know, the game identity was a bit confusing with MK1, and what I mean by that is, you know, it was a kind of like a mix between MKX and MK11. So, you know, you didn't have that slow methodical pace of MK11 in its competitiveness, but you don't have that fast intensity as MKX. It had this weird awkward balance in the middle. But basically that's why MK1 sort of was disappointing, and it was down to the bare bones of the game. So you might ask, what does NetherRealm need to do to make the next Mortal Kombat game a hit? How do you bring Mortal Kombat on top and at the level where you could compete with Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8, because they are dominating the, you know, the FGC right now? First of all, this is a small thing. I feel like they need to choose an identity and stick to it, because Mortal Kombat right now doesn't know what it wants to be. MKX was chaos. MK11 was very methodical, and MK1 just tried to be both, and it ended up satisfying neither side. So I feel like MK13 or 2 needs to commit to one identity and build everything around it. And this is a big thing. They could fix or remove cameos. So some players like them and many don't. And they feel like sort of artificial depth, and it makes balancing harder for the game. So cameos aren't really a bad idea, but they feel like they belong in a different game. If MK13 keeps them, they need to evolve into something meaningful. If not, just remove them completely and focus on the core fighting system. If they do want to keep some sort of system similar, I say they should bring back the MK9 tag fighters, and instead of having a cameo come in and do a move and then run off screen, you could actually have a tag fighter where you choose 2 fighters and then you could swap between them. Either if you haven't played MK9, sort of like Marvel vs. Capcom, and that could be a side mode. It doesn't have to be the main fighting mode, but people would love it. And one of Mortal Kombat 1's biggest mistakes wasn't gameplay, it was content. There was nothing to grind for. I feel like Mortal Kombat 13 needs something along the lines of a full crypt or an open world hub of some sort. They need more game modes at launch instead of just invasions, because that wasn't enough. And they need unlockables that actually feel rewarding, because if players get bored in week 1, I don't think they're going to come back. Take a look at their competitors like Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8. They had these huge open world hubs, They had these battle hubs. I know Street Fighter 6 had the World Tour mode, and they are continuing to add to it, which is even making it bigger and more grandiose. I remember I spent like 30 hours in that game mode just training with my fighter. It reminded me of something MK did in the past, so I know they could do it. They had the Conquest mode. You remember that mode in MK Deception where Shujinko would basically run around and learn moves from all the fighters, and he would be like some sort of master fighter saving the world from Onaga? That's what World Tour felt like, because in a way your avatar character is Shujinko and you're learning from all your masters. Now imagine if Mortal Kombat had something along the lines and they brought back like a conquest mode. That would be great. I know I'm reaching for the stars, but why not? Because they gave us trash, we deserve better. Take a look at MK11. Compare that to MK1. We had so much more to do. We had Towers of Time that were actually meaningful, because MK11 had really good skins that you could unlock, and really interesting gear pieces you could unlock too. We had those custom intros and custom outros. Like, there's a lot of things that we just took for granted, and it's like that saying where you don't appreciate what you have until you lose it, and I feel like that fully encapsulates the transition between MK11 and MK1. And going off of that, customization in MK11 and even Injustice 2 were peak. They were literally peak. And MK1 just downgraded heavily. People love personalization. Mortal Kombat 11 had one of the best customization systems in fighting games, and then MK1 just removed most of it. MK13 should double down on customization. Gear, skins, intros, outros, abilities, whatever you want to do. I remember in MK11 you had to, I called it create a class, and I remember when I was describing it to my friends, they didn't believe me. I told them, oh, you could create your class in MK11 where you could sort of customize your moves, and they would be like your variation. Now that was a bit controversial, but it was cool nonetheless. Players don't want to just win, they want to feel unique doing it, so it's a really cool thing that you could have very varied skins and you don't need to spend money for it, because the monetization and live service in MK1 were very predatory. Grinding felt unrewarding. Premium content versus earned content was just like imbalance, Premium content, you get the cool skins, right? You get the classic skins. We're going to remake all of the 3D era skins. We're going to remake all the classic skins, and they're going to be the cool skins that people want. But what are we going to do? We're going to sell them for 20 bucks. But okay, what about the players that don't want to spend anything? They're just going to get a color swap of a story mode skin. Wow. So if MK13 is going to be a live service, it needs to just respect the player. No overpriced skins, no artificial grind. Reward players for playing, not for paying. And a big thing, believe it or not, is the story mode. Now I know I was trashing on the story mode, but MK games were always known for their stories, because they were one of the first fighting games to actually have, cinematic stories, and they're a big selling point, but they just fumbled it with MK1. Now they had this whole timeline reset, multiverse stuff, and it just wasn't good. It was fatigue. It felt like something straight out of Marvel or DC, and we don't need it. But constantly, rebooting old timelines, it's getting old. I feel like MK13 needs to take risks. You have new villains or bring back older ones and just stick with them. Have a darker tone and real consequences. You gotta make the story matter again. And with this whole multiverse stuff, I feel like it just won't work for the next game. They need to somehow find a way to focus on Liu Kang's new timeline, build a relationship with the characters in Liu Kang's timeline, and avoid any outside interference. I don't care what they do. Make it so there was a stone or something that binded everyone to their own timelines or something. I don't really care. But you see, something like that. Because you could have all these timelines, sure. So you could have that fun, cool part where like, oh, what if this character was powerful? Yeah, you could have those fanfics and make them canon, whatever. But you gotta stick to this one story and make it meaningful. Now imagine this, a Mortal Kombat game with MK11 level content, MKX level intensity, and a completely fresh story that actually takes risks. That's not unrealistic. That's exactly what MK13 could be if they just listen. If NetherRealm gets this right, MK13 could be one of the greatest fighting games ever made. But if they don't, this might be the moment the series starts to really fall off. So what do you think MK13 needs to fix? And if you want more content like this, subscribe and join the MrFrostyFlamez Legion. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure you like and do all that stuff, and check out my other videos. I'm doing playthroughs of different horror games. If you like that stuff, you can see my face. I have face cam in that video. But yeah, anyways, you guys have a good one, and salute to you. MrFrostyFlamez out. Yeah!